everyone, welcome. It's Kate from Zen Stitching, and I'm back again with another of our artist interview series for Making Zen. Today, I'm joined by the very lovely Jen Strauser, who is also known as Dizzy Quilter, where she shares all of her amazing quilts, inspiration, bits of her studio muse as well. And it's just such a delightful feed. There's lots of great colors and lots of great work in progress shots. And Jen, I have to say, from having a look at that and kind of knowing you a little bit, maybe I could call you a quiltaholic.
Oh, maybe. I think my husband would definitely agree with that.
I just love it. Every time I see your feed, there's something new happening. And you must be so prolific.
I'm not, well, yes, I think I am prolific because I have a lot of time to do what I like. Also, it's Alex Anderson's fault. When I started quilting in like 2003, Simply Quilts was on TV, and it was two different things every day. So I thought that was the way you do it. And I think I may have a little bit of ADHD. And that's how I make. So there's a lot of in progress shots because I have a lot of things in progress. They don't always make it across the finish line, but that's okay.
I love it. So when you say that there were, was it two shows a day showing two different techniques or two different quilts?
I think it was, she often had two dramatically different techniques. And I don't know if it was, I think it was just in one episode. So I think it was a half-hour show, or this is a long time ago. And I have crossed the 50-year-old milestone. So now my past doesn't remember. But I think whatever the length of the show was, she had two different guests every time.
Oh my goodness.
So
Yeah.
it would be, here's EPP and here's, Freddie Moran, who was red. And here's this technique and here's another one. So like, and they were all very exciting. So that's how I operate now. I like every time I see something, I do something. And I try not to be on Instagram so much because you guys will all send me off into the stratosphere doing different things.
Yeah, it's a bit of a rabbit hole at times, isn't it? When you see all these beautiful things being creative. I kind of want to be like a an octopus, so I have lots of different hands doing lots of different things to kind of like just do all the great stuff that
Right.
you see on Instagram. And so that's really fascinating that you say that you think you have ADHD. Is that because you work on different things at the same time? Please, I'm curious to know what you mean by that.
I work on different things at the same time. I have real trouble focusing sometimes unless the muse really bites me. Like, and then I go in like my kids did on the toy trains. Like I can do 6 hours on one thing without blinking. And I don't think that's how most people operate. I think they have a more regulated system. But I also like my mother, when my mom lives with me, when she moved in, she said, you never sit down for more than 3 minutes because I'll sit down to do something and then I'll hop up to do something else. Like I don't go in a straight line ever.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love that. And I'm sure many people can relate with the way they be and create and yes, just having the need to do things all the time. And I
Yeah.
love hearing that you work in that way. So I'm guessing that means you have multiple quilts on the go at the moment or multiple projects on the go.
Oh yeah, there's a new quilt on my wall with an associated large pile of fabric on the floor. I started making a snuffle mat for my dog. Like, yes. The more stressed out I am, the more things I start.
Oh,
I feel like I need to finish something. There's something that's almost done.
so two projects means you're pretty calm at the moment. Five plus projects means that perhaps there's a bit of stress. What's the most projects that you've had on in any one go, any one time?
Oh, there's dozens. I mean, if you count the UFOs, there's always loads and loads of things. Usually the only things that really get finished are the ones that are for client work or for class samples. Like
Hmm.
everything else is just me fooling around.
Yeah. Oh, that's so nice though. And I always find in my own work, whenever I'm making something. And despite best intentions, I'm notoriously messy. So I have half a project over here, things lying on the floor,
Yep.
things hanging up in half finished states. And whilst I aspire to be this minimalist, clean, modern aesthetic, I find that the messy approach works for me because one thing feeds the other.
Right.
So like you'll be looking around and you'll be like, oh, I've got these scraps here. These would work really well in this project. And if I had put them away, I wouldn't even know
That's
that
right.
I had them.
That's what this That's why they do this. They don't go in the trash. They just sit here and wait for their next showcase.
Next iteration. Yeah, that's wonderful. I love seeing that. So you have like an open kind of fabric basket where you just put all of your offcuts and bits and pieces?
So yeah, anything that I thought was probably too small for traditional patchwork, and also when I tried to clean up the floor, they just get shoved into things. But I'm more of a horizontal surface coverer.
Mm.
So my whole desk is a disaster. My tables are all covered. There's shelves that are just stuffed. That's how I operate. It's when I clean up that I start finding like things and they tell me, oh, the same way you said, like, oh, these will go together very nicely. But this is just one of my baskets that I did because we travel a lot. So I try to have like, I can always grab something and move along.
That's such a good way of being, I think, the ability to have something ready. So it's just like picked up, ready to go and jump
Yeah.
in the car or whatever.
Even if it's not the thing that was the most exciting today, it is the thing that's ready to roll.
Yes, yes. And sometimes that's half the battle, isn't it? Because if you have to think about what you're
Right.
working on, what you need, the supplies you need to gather, all that kind of stuff, you've kind of lost the momentum or you're out the door before you've had a chance to think it through.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very smart way of working. I love it. And a moment ago you said that you were working on a snaffle stuff.
Oh, so I have my little dogs and they are my favorite thing in the world.
Yes.
And we're moving to an apartment, so we need them to be quiet.
Oh,
So there's this thing where you take a dish drying mat, like a rubber mat, and you tie pieces of polar fleece into it and then hide treats in there and they have to snuffle around and get it. So this is when I'm supposed to be cleaning my studio. What has actually happened is I'm finding a piece of polar fleece and this thing that I bought 3 years ago. And when I need a break from cleaning, I sit down and tie the knots in that. So, and then I can throw out the rest of the polar fleece and not feel so guilty.
yes. Oh my goodness. I love it. What a great use of scraps. Fabulous like DIY toy for your puppy. Oh,
It is
just
fun to see them playing and snuggling with things that I made. Like my kids are older now. They're both in their 20s. So they don't get so excited if I make a little stuffed animal, but the dogs give me the feedback I'm looking for. And then they shred it.
yeah, exactly. That's so true. Well, give your kids a couple of years and they'll be back into that again. But it is nice to be have that feeling of joy of being able to make. And if it's for animals, then it's not censored. They love it.
Right.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. And I totally love. So I think you pointing over in that direction. A moment ago. So I believe they are your studio muse as well.
So this is my desk, which is not clean. And there's CJ.
Oh no. Hello, CJ. She's like,
He
what do
hasn't
you
quite
want?
get to Zoom yet.
Yeah, yeah. Funny, isn't it? My little cat Kiko, she knows she has an awareness. So when the Zoom screen comes on, sometimes she's like, I don't want to be on screen today. And so she moves out of the camera. It-
Yeah, CJ likes it. I do Zoom. I teach on Zoom quite often, several times a month. So and it's usually mostly women. But as soon as she hears the ladies, she comes running in and lays down. Like she wants to listen to the ladies.
Oh, that's lovely. So she wants to be part of it as well. Yeah. If she could choose a patchwork quilt, what do you think she would choose?
Oh, hands down, both of the dogs are all about anything handmade, but they are big fans of the Kawandi inspired stuff that I do. And I think it's because there's so much like I finger press the fabric and it's all hand stitching, so there's a lot of my scent in it. And
Mm.
they if I can't find the dogs, I don't even have to say anything. I just put one of them on the floor. The dogs materialize and lay down on it.
Is
It's
that
amazing.
so? How delightful. Oh, how fun. And what a wonderful way of finding them.
Yes.
Yes.
My other one, CJ's not trained yet. My other dog, Oscar's older, and he knows if I say photo shoot, he has a couple of different poses that he'll do, like, you know, to get it
Really?
nice.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
I say that he's a professional quilt model.
Well, that's what we want.
Yeah.
So he's a real poser. Do you think CJ is the same?
She's a little bit more of an action girl right now. I think she's turning 2 next month. She's very active.
Mm, mm.
So
So
photo shoot's not her favorite thing. Ball is her favorite thing.
yes, one of the pictures I think you had on your Instagram feed was of her amidst a whole lot of fabric and a blue ball in her mouth. So she was
Yes.
obviously helping.
Yeah, as soon as I get down on the floor to sort scraps, they're with me. I was in a magazine last year, and the picture is me with a huge pile of scraps in my arm and the dog next to me. Like,
Yeah, well, they've got to be involved, don't they? They're part of our lives, so I think it makes sense that they're involved with the photo shoots and everything like that too. Yeah, they're good helpers.
yeah,
Yeah. And a moment ago, you were mentioning that you were inspired to quilt. Was it 2003? That was
yeah.
when you made your first quilt?
Oh wait, 2000, not 2003, 2000.
2000. What was it that kind of drew you to the craft?
Well, I did a little bit of sewing when I was a kid. My grandma taught me embroidery, simple stuff, and I always liked playing with fabric, but it was frustrating when my first son was little. He would take his nap. He would watch TV and have lunch, and he'd take his nap. And while he was napping, Simply Quilts came on. That was just our thing. And I started, I'd hear the music and I didn't know, and then I started watching it, and it just being exposed to the different techniques and the idea that there's like so many different things. I didn't have to make a pastel double wedding ring. There was all this other stuff, and I'm a shopper. I like shopping. I like collecting. And then there was all that appealed to me. And then batik fabrics. She
Mm.
showed us some batik fabrics. And that was when I lost my mind. Like that was it. I started making things with batiks. I was all about batiks. But at the same time, I would try handwork. So I would go back and forth. Like I like doing things fast on the machine. I like doing things slow by hand. Like it just depends on what my mood is. But there was just I don't know. The first time I sewed a couple of patches of fabric together as an adult, like I felt something like I in my soul. It cannot be overstated how strong the attraction was. And
Mm.
I just never looked back.
Mm. Well,
There's been a couple of years where like my youngest had a lot of speech therapy, occupational therapy stuff when he was little, and then my other one was in school and I was in the PTA. So like I took a break from patchwork then, but every time I walked back into my sewing room, it was like I really need this. I miss this.
mm.
So
So
yeah,
you were drawn in by the fabric and then the tactility and the process kind of
yeah. And
spoke
then
to you.
I initially I only made usable quilts. I didn't make minis. I didn't do anything like that. And they all got used by my family. And there's something about seeing somebody in your life being cozy and warm in something you made, or using a tote bag you made, or wearing pajamas that you made incorrectly. Like there's something, I'm a 2D person mostly. There's something about that though that is just very rewarding to see
Mm.
them using what I made.
That's
So,
very true. It's an interesting thing that you say there because I as soon as you said that, my analogy goes to food because I love to cook and I'm always cooking trying different things and It's just so rewarding to see people respond and enjoy it, and kind of it's one of those senses that I guess that we can connect with. So I can totally understand what you're saying, why it's so wonderful to see people snuggled up underneath your creations or playing with them or wearing them, depending on what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially like, so my husband, not art-minded, doesn't get excited about my stuff. When I go, look, I made a skyline. He's like, nice, that's nice. Okay. But he will ask for this one on to be on his lap because it's the right size. Like he appreciates other aspects of it, and I will take any validation I can get.
Absolutely. I think we all should. That's a very good thing to do in life. Absolutely. And that's a lovely quilt behind you too. Is
So,
it a Kawandi style quilt?
yes. Yes.
Ooh.
I have a little notebook where when I'm making one, I have ideas about the next one. And this one, I was like, I wonder if I could make buildings and a skyline along the bottom. And I can.
It's lovely. I've been admiring it whilst we've been talking and
Yeah.
just admiring the colors and the shapes and how it's all put together.
It's
And
even prettier when it's not folded. The top is dark blue. It's supposed to look like daybreak.
oh, really? Oh, wow. So we're seeing half of it pretty much. Yes. Beautiful. I loved hearing your making process too, how when you're making something, inevitably that's when more fun ideas come in. So you
Oh,
have a notebook that you keep all your ideas in.
yes.
I'm guessing that's quite a full notebook from the
It
sounds
has
of
a
things.
lot of weird scribbles in it. I have to use different vocabulary, but when my son was little, he used to like to write little things on papers and draw things from hats, and we called it his crazy papers. And now I have my own crazy papers.
Ah, what a great idea. And but that's so fabulous because I know sometimes when we're coming up with ideas and they're coming in so thick and fast, it's like, oh, I want to do that and I want to do that and I want to do that, without losing the momentum or the idea,
Yeah.
writing them down or drawing them, depending on what the idea is and how best to portray it. That's a wonderful idea.
I think it's really helpful. Every once in a while you lose your sojo. You walk
Mm,
in, I don't know what I'm going to work on. And that's part of what the project I'm going to be teaching this year is like I have lots of systems to insulate me against that boredom. Either I can pick up an old UFO and just kind of move it to the next step. I can do something with scraps. Or I can look in my notebook and see what lights me up today. So I have a lot of things that I do to prevent me from ever getting stuck. I don't like that feeling when I don't have anything to do. I um I really never ever in my life do I want to say that I'm bored.
mm.
So
Well, it sounds like you definitely don't have to worry about that.
no. Never.
Well, and that's a good way to be. And I think also, when you're constantly making and constantly creating, it's inevitable that you're going to have more ideas and putting together, I don't know, it's just ideas, isn't it? Playing around with fabrics and shapes and texture, um, which does mean that, yes, it's a really great way of capturing those ideas. I'm wondering, do you write your ideas? Do you draw your ideas? Do you just stick your fabric in the book?
A little I don't we travel a lot and we're getting ready to move, so I don't know where it is. Mostly it's words. I am a frustrated visual artist. I have not mastered drawing yet. Um, that's why I like fabric because I can figure out how to cut a shape.
Hmm.
Um, I so it's mostly words. Sometimes my sketches are very rough. They're for me. Sometimes I share them because I'll say like, look, I drew this and this is what I intended and this is what it looked like, but this is how it started. So if you can't draw, it's okay. I can't either.
Absolutely. Not many of us can. And you know what? I'd even dare to suggest that perhaps you are a good drawer and you're not giving yourself enough credit.
I have not gotten enough experience, and that is based on youthful artist trauma.
Yes.
Those young teachers in art class who tell us that's not good, try again, instead of saying, that's a very interesting composition. What were you trying to portray? And this is how you could make it a little bit better, which is how I teach my students usually too in person. It's like, okay, that's not what I told you to do. I like where you're going. Do you want to see how I did it? Or do you want to go in your own direction?
Yeah. Yeah. The
So,
selection of the words is so important, isn't it, when it comes to exploring creativity versus shutting it down?
right. Especially like even just from a practical industry insider standpoint, we need more makers because if we all stop buying fabric, they're going to stop making it
Mm.
and we're not going to get this pretty stuff that we like. So we need to encourage young makers. And by young I mean new makers, not children, although I like kids too, but we need to encourage them and give them positive experiences. I had one of my first experiences was entering a quilt in a quilt show and having the volunteer judge tell me I needed to take a quilting class.
Oh.
And luckily, that didn't hurt my feelings. That stirred rage. And I'm still here. And I hope she sees me.
So was that like, I can't believe I was told that, so I'm going to go and make more quilts? Was that kind of the response?
Yes, it was, how dare you? Why
Mm.
would you say something like that? I did it
Mm.
fine. Perhaps you're not familiar with the technique. And that yes, absolutely. Just outrage. I will be here and I will be in magazines and I will be published and you will still be volunteering at the local, farm show.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
yes,
Yeah.
I'm very angry still.
It sounds like, though, despite her not being a positive experience, she might have been the catalyst you needed to continue and keep going.
Could have been. I do a lot of things out of spite.
Well, that's good because I'm pleased that you're here and creating beautiful quilts and inspiring us with just, it's so vibrant, your use of color, and it's just so joyful. It's a real delight to see what you're creating.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're most welcome. I'd love to talk to you about what you're going to do for Making Zen, but before I dive down that rabbit hole, I'd love to hear about how you select your quilt projects, because I know you got one, what was it, a happy clam or
Oh, the glam clam.
the
Yeah.
glam clam one? Yes, you've got that happening, and then there's other ones. They all seem very different in techniques and that kind of thing. So I was curious to know if there was any way of selecting these things, or you just do what feels good.
Mostly it's what feels good. So the glam clam one, that took a long, long time. That was I worked in a quilt shop that's since closed. They're still online as they roll up their business, but Gotham Quilts. I worked in there and they had a template for a glam clam. And clamshell shapes are typically done with English paper piecing or other handwork techniques. And this was a big one, and it was a template that you'd cut the fabric. And that was very exciting. Like I could do it on the sewing machine. So exciting, in fact, that I brought it home and put it on the shelf for a couple years and didn't touch it. And then I said I'm a collector. I like to spend money on stuff. I have a pretty good Tula Pink collection. I've been buying bundles of her fabric for years, and I thought I have to get rid of this fabric. It's too much fabric sitting here, not doing anything. So I will maybe make a charm quilt. I love charm quilts, where every fabric in the quilt is different.
Mhm.
So I was, oh, maybe I will cut a glam clam out of every Tula Pink fabric. That took forever and also drained my creativity and got put on a shelf. Now, my friend Lissa, lovingly Lissa, she had invited me to join a UFO challenge with her guild. And we had to write down a list of 12 challenges, and every month they'd tell us which one. And it just happened that that was my January challenge. And we traveled. So it was an easy project to take with me because it was already cut. And I just took that and I worked through it. And it was that quilt, as much as I love it and it is joyful, it was a grind every step of the way.
Oh, was it?
but I was able to break it down to, I thought I'd finish it in a weekend, but it's a really slow process. And I turned it into, I'm going to just assemble one row every day, mostly. Some days I didn't finish, but it got done. And now it's somebody else's problem. My friend Penny has to quilt it for me.
Well, that's nice. And you're so close to having it finished now, too.
Yeah. But
Mm.
mostly when I'm doing stuff, I work for AccuQuilt a lot. So I'll have to do a project for them that I can't share. But I also want to be sharing stuff. So I'll do something little. I have a lot of projects that I do that are little between things. Then I have projects where I decide I'm going to do a daily practice that lasts for 2 weeks because I'm not a daily practice person.
No, I hear you 100%. I love the concept of doing a daily practice and working on something daily, but I also feel that overwhelmed by it. I can't commit
Yeah.
to like a project. Like I'm thinking of the 100-day project. I love the concept. I think it's great. I'd love to be able to do it, but I can't go there. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's too structured. I don't know.
I think it's some of that. And then there's the 100 I've done. Oh my gosh, I've started that dozens of times. I've finished all the blocks for one thing. That's quilt is still not finished being quilted. The 100 days projects are very interesting, but I feel like I need to prepare all 100 days at the beginning.
Mm.
And I know I'm going to miss some days. And if I miss one day, I may as well stop all of them. So usually I make it to day 3. Same thing with the monthly challenges where you have to respond to a prompt every day. Oh, I'm so excited on day 1, and on day 2, I'm bored.
I'm like, okay, what's next? Next challenge.
But those things are good to look back at because you can pull the prompts and use them whenever. You know,
Mm,
it's
that's very true. That's a good point. And that kind of circles back quite nicely to what you were talking about with how you never suffer from what I loved you calling it sojo.
Joe.
Using your sojo, which I believe is a kind of a nice segue into what you're going to be teaching us at Making Zen this year.
Yeah. So I am teaching, still workshopping the name, but I think um, landscapes in fabric and thread. So this one's a little confusing because it's a foggy day. I have a lake view in my current home, which I am leaving, that I am obsessed with. And for a minute, I was going to be a watercolor painter. But that's hard. They're hard to do.
They
Just
are,
because
yep.
kids doesn't mean they're easy. So I tried painting and I got like 1 or 2 decent paintings. And then one day, I don't know, I started and I was like, you know what? I wonder if I could make landscapes out of fabric. I can cut the shapes. So I did. So I usually start. So it's almost always my lake. There's water, there's the 2 hills, and then there's a sun, and then maybe a cloud because it's often foggy and cloudy. I have a moody lake. And then sometimes there's a boat, because I think the sale here is selvage. So it amuses me to work selvage into things because we're not supposed to use selvage. Selvage
Mhm.
is bad. But I play with selvage because the best way to get me to do something is tell me not to do it.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm with
but
you.
it's fun to play with colors. You can do whatever colors you want. And again, there's water, there's hills, there's the sun's going down, there's water and hills. Like I do the same thing over and over. And I thought it would be boring, but I like it. And the response I've gotten online has been positive. So it must not be boring. But like this was on the floor. This was something I had already pieced for something else. So I cut it. And very easy to cut hills, not to give away the whole class. This is
That's
hard.
it's beautiful, and I love how you're presenting it in
A
the
little book.
fabric book.
So I have my concept. So when you start quilting, everybody says, what's it for? Who's that going to be for? So it's very hard to say, well, this is for me because then you're selfish. Well, I can take it one step further. This is an art show for me. I do these little guys for me. It's my art show. It's not for you. It's not for anybody else. If you don't like it, I don't care. If you do like it, I'd love to teach you how to do it. But this is my art show for me. And I flip through it and it's exciting and it gets me going. And it was all relatively easy because it's something I do a lot of times in the morning or after I do something hard. I can sit and do it. And I pick up little scraps off my floor. It gives me permission to keep this. This will be useful because look, it's 2 hills. Although I'm sure it was two hills and something else too. Um, but it gives me permission to hang on to all of my little scraps, and it's not silly. And like, this will be useful someday.
I completely agree with you with scraps, particularly if they've got fun little cutout shapes and everything. That's where the interest is. Like you've
Right.
got more possibility, I think, with a piece of scrap than you do with a big piece of fabric because you're like, huh, big piece of fabric. I don't want to cut it. Whereas if you've got little scraps, you can play with them and
Yeah, and there's no, what is the risk? What is the risk here? What did I waste?
yeah.
Nothing. Nothing got wasted. And if this doesn't go anywhere else, that's fine. It makes me laugh to think my kids, when I die, are going to open up my sewing room and find thousands of these little things.
It's lovely. Oh, I'm so excited. That's going to be what you share with us for Making Zen.
Yes.
Yes. So if you haven't already, start collecting those scraps because you're going to have a very good use for them.
Yeah, don't throw anything out. God
Mm-mm.
forbid.
No, exactly. That's right. Which is
I
probably what some people don't want to hear. They're like, oh, I'm trying to downsize or I'm trying to clean up the studio. But yeah, I think your suggestion of having nice bins to put all of these scraps in, so at least they're contained in some way, shape, or form to dive into.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you always have a little pile, and sometimes I try to make them more realistic colors. And
Wow.
sometimes I just use whatever colors. I just play like this. I tried to do sunset. I'm still workshopping. Look at that. That's where those came from.
They're
Um,
just stunning, Jen. They're
some of
gorgeous.
them are sillier, and I don't know. They've been really fun and really on the days when I do one first thing in the morning, I am a different person for the rest of the day. Like it got all of that out, and I don't know. And I have to say that I was Herma de Reuter got me started on the spiral stitching. She does it differently. Um, I do the landscaping thing. She does some other thing, but there's something about spirals and the Kawandi inspired ones. Like there's something about spirals that draw me in, and I need to do some research on why. But I think they were always considered magical, and because they attract attention.
Yes, interesting. I'll be curious to know what you find out if you delve into what it is. When you're stitching your spirals, do you go from the outside in or from the inside out?
For these, I do from the inside out, because I want to chase the bulk, and it's also I like to start in the center so it's easy to find the center. If I start from the inside in, outside, I don't know where I'll end up, and the fabric does scoot around. And while in the Kawandi stuff, the the bulk and the texture is desirable, I don't think it would be here. So I haven't done that yet. But I
Mm.
like to find the middle and then go out.
I see what you mean. Yes, because when you stitch the Kwandi, you're stitching from the outside in, and sometimes you end up with, do you call it the
Yep.
belly button?
Yeah, the belly, it gets it just you just because the quilting draws it in, you just develop this bulk in the middle.
Yeah.
And it does mostly get flattened out, but sometimes we clip out the middle.
Yeah, no, it's uniquely beautiful either way, I think. And I agree with you with the stitching of the spirals. I do a similar thing on my jeans for mending
Hmm.
areas that are frayed. And once you start from the inside and you're working your way out, it's really difficult to stop. There's something mesmerizing, I think, about the circular stitch motion.
Yeah.
Keep
And
going.
funny, I don't do much sashiko. My mom loves it, which I feel is probably part of the reason why I don't do it. There's one of us doing it. I do love running stitches, though. I do a lot of embroidery, but running stitches are by far and away my favorite. And it's the simplest thing, but they can be so impactful. This is the cover of my book, and it's just rows of stitches that I went along the fabric. I copied the pattern. They are so much more interesting than they get credit for.
Mhm. No, I know it's the running stitch. It's such a humble stitch and yet so impactful, I think.
Yeah,
And everybody can do it. That's the other great thing. You don't
right,
have to remember a particular technique or, wrapping the needle one way or the next. Like it's just you do
right.
it.
There's no confusion, and I have a lot of people who say, well, how do you get your stitches so even? And it's like, unfortunately, the only way to get really even stitches is to do a lot of stitches.
Mm,
And they're not as even as they look.
that's
It's
it.
my brain smoothing it out, but do a lot and then come back and tell me how you feel.
That's it. Exactly. There's something about seeing, an individual stitch versus a stitch in its entirety. Like the brain does see the pattern rather than wonky stitches.
Yeah, I think it's apophenia is the word.
I don't
I
know.
I used to do long arm quilting and I learned that, I don't have to do it perfect because when we step back, our brain will go, "Oh, that's great."
I'm looking that word up because I haven't heard it before, but I think I need to know it. I'll put that in the show notes, I think. Apophenia.
I think that's the word. It's possible that I spit out the wrong one, but I'm pretty
That's
sure
all
that.
right. We can at least look into it and find out because it is a something that the brain does, and it's good to be aware of it because I know a lot of the time when I'm teaching, everyone's like, "Oh no, my stitches they're not right, they're not perfect," and I'm like, "No, no, 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 they are right, they are perfect because when you finish the design, you won't even see them."
Right.
Like
And
you
that's
you
your
you see the stitches, but you don't see the wonkiness of them. It's just like you see the
right.
pattern.
And even if you do see the wonkiness, if I wanted to look like a sewing machine did it, I would have done it on a sewing machine.
Exactly.
I want my own organic touch. And because it's mine, it means that I can show you how to find your organic style, but you can't do mine. Mine is mine.
Mm.
We all have our own curve that we draw. We all have our own running stitch that we do. Like that's that's the wonderful thing. It's
Exactly. I always say stitching is like handwriting.
right.
Yeah, we have bring our own individualness to it. Yeah.
Yeah, the seeking of perfection is a waste of energy.
Such wise words. I absolutely love it. And I was about to ask you if you had any advice for anyone who wanted to learn quilting, but perhaps that was it, the seeking of perfection.
Right.
Yeah.
Learn the rules, learn things like an accurate quarter inch seam and the why. Because when you learn the why of the rules, you can break them.
Mm.
You want to have perfect points to show off that you're a perfect quilter. Mm. You want to have an accurate quarter inch seam so that your piece doesn't fall apart in the wash. That one we don't want to break.
That
Showing that I'm a perfect quilter, that's a lot of energy and stress for not a lot of return on investment. But like, do we want to do how dense do we want to do the quilting? For style or because we know that our batting needs to be quilted every 4 inches so the quilt doesn't fall apart in the wash. Like those are the rules that are important. Make sure you learn the rule and the why.
mm.
If you just want to make the other ladies at the quilt guild feel bad, maybe you don't need to do that.
Oh, I love it. That's such good advice because, quite often we're told not to do something, but we're not given the reason why.
Yeah.
And
See, I said at the beginning, the way to make me do not to do something is to tell me not to do it. I
not
will
to do it.
immediately do that and find out the why.
Totally, absolutely. I'm the same. There's the amount of times I've done something and gone, ah, that's why I shouldn't do that.
And that's valuable.
It is because I learned that I don't need to do that ever again.
Right.
So it's the why. And Jen, just before we wrap up, I thought it was very poignant that you said when you do your landscape stitchings in the morning, you're a different person. I'd love to hear why you think that is.
So I am I'm an artist in recovery. I'm on my like seventh or eighth pass through Julia Cameron's The Artist Way. So we learn to do our morning pages, and I think that these work out a lot like morning pages for me. I sit down and I think about things and I make a little composition. I get my artist on and it's just very soothing. And there's no wrong way. Like if I make one that I don't like, there's plenty in my little book that are not my favorite. But that's fine. I made something and I learned something from everyone and it just makes me soothing, makes me feel soothed. And I do the thing that I love, which is use up some little scraps. I even use up scraps. Like there's just a lot of fulfilling stuff for me. And there's something about moving the needle in the morning, low stakes, that is very soothing to me. And even on a bad day, I'll remember that tomorrow morning, even if I don't sew anything else for the rest of the day because I've got too much to do, tomorrow morning I can sit down and do another one, and it makes me feel better. So I think it definitely ties into to Julia Cameron and her stuff. And I think what it is I end up having a daily artist date where I fill the well. This is my little inspiration builder.
Mm, I love
So
it. Thank you for sharing that because it's a really nice way of connecting the why, and also taking Julia Cameron's uh, process and making it your own. Instead of doing the 3 pages of handwriting, you're doing a similar thing, but with fabric and your stitched handwriting in a
yeah,
sense. Yeah, I
the
love
pages are good. My biggest tip for the pages is get a smaller notebook.
it. Now there's an idea. Because it does take a bit of time. I've tried it, and like 3 pages. Wow, that's a lot of writing.
That can be like an hour and a half of just whining. Just sometimes I feel like I don't want to do that, but it does get
Mm,
it off my chest.
yeah,
But yeah, these are better for me. And there's something they're tactile. I'm very tactile. I want to feel things. And the textures and they fray and it's so good.
yeah, yeah. It is. It's so good. Well, I could chat with you all day, but I'm mindful of your time. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing a little bit of the glimpse into your beautiful, vibrant, and colorful world. And thank you so much for being part of Making Zen.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Kate.
Thank you for joining me in this creative journey. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And if you'd like to learn more about Making Zen, please check out the links below where you can find out all about the workshops and creativity, community, and all that kind of good stuff. Wishing you many happy hours of stitching.